As you know, back in 1970, I started on a series called What Happened? And every time something would go wrong, I would look at the camera and say, hey, what happened? We had a lot of fun with that and a lot of other catchphrases.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast, guys. If you would be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves and the instrument that you play?
My name is Mark Oates, and I play drums.
I'm Todd Warner. I play guitar and do some backing vocals.
Yeah, I'm Steve Stanczyk. I play bass, and I sing terribly in the background every once in a while.
Hey, I'm Justin, and Justin Storms, and I play guitar, rhythm guitar, and lead vocal.
And what is the name of your band?
Wailin Storms.
So, thanks for doing this, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Let's give the listeners a little bit of background about your band. First of all, where are you guys based?
We're based in Durham, North Carolina. Yeah, it's like outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. It's kind of part of the Triangle, which includes Chapel Hill, Raleigh, and Durham. So it's a little small city of, I think it's around 450,000 people now. Do you know if that's right, guys?
I think it's 300,000, somewhere around there.
Okay, yeah.
And how would you describe the music that you make?
Steve, do you want to take this?
I know. It's funny because like everyone asks us this, and we struggle with it. Like, I mean, I've been playing in this band now for, I think 5 years, and like when someone says, "Oh, what do y'all sound like?" It's a struggle. It's a struggle, and I think what it is that we all have such divergent backgrounds. I mean, we obviously we connect over this band, and there's some music that we all listen to like cohesively amongst us. But man, like we're all coming from different places. We grew up around different areas in the country. It's really kind of a mix. But when I guess like when I try to explain it, I'm always like, well, it's really dark. There's just a swampy like vibe to it. There's elements of punk, elements of metal, post-punk, it's all just kind of jumbled in there, and I think it's really, the four of us coming together and all of our different backgrounds and mixing into this pot.
For sure. Yeah, people have described it as post-apocalyptic, music, punk, doom rock, southern gothic punk. So, just a bunch of amalgam of things.
I like the term southern gothic punk. Would you guys say between all your backgrounds and all your interests, you have a shared appreciation of Danzig and Danzig's...
I think everybody does but me.
Yeah.
Probably.
Me and Justin,
either.
we connected, actually. He had an ad out on Craigslist, and one of the... but you had Sam Hain, I think, in that ad. But
totally.
My response to him was, hey, it was something like, let's meet up and I'll tell you the story about how I met Danzig when I was 15, or something like that, which we did when we were kids, and it was hilarious. But yeah, it's like we love him, but he's also kind of just this character that you just kind of got to laugh at because it's so over the top at the same time.
Yeah.
But man, I was just listening to Danzig, the self-titled last week, and I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Oh yeah, Danzig 4 and before honestly is it's gold. All that shit's good, but after 4, yeah, I'm personally not a fan of his later work, But Sam Hain's awesome. Misfits, most of Misfits is great. Some of it can get corny, but for the most part, Misfits is great.
Yeah,
Just reminds me of my childhood.
I'm probably the only one in the band that hasn't listened to a whole Danzig album.
Oh, Mark, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were into Danzig, Mark.
Nah.
No? Okay.
I mean...
I'm not that familiar with Danzig.
But what about
there's some good stuff. But I don't have anything by him, or I don't think I've listened to a whole album.
I know. I heard that there's some video that's making the rounds of him covering a Elvis song recently, and
that's his recent record.
Really,
yeah.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, it's real bad. Elvis. Yeah, Danzig doing Elvis is not great. Yeah, that record's not great, from what I've heard.
So do you want to tell that story about meeting Glenn Danzig when you're 15?
Please, Steve. It's so good.
Yeah. So when we were kids, we were trying to figure out. We would do covers of. I think at that time we were doing Sam Hain covers or something like that. Just in a punk rock band that I was in, and our drummer wrote away to Sam Hain at the time because we could never understand what the hell he was saying because he mumbles all of his lyrics. So he writes away and just, hey, it's like...
Well, I mean, obviously he's saying...
He's going to kill us.
I still to this day just make up my own lyrics. Probably only a third of them are right. But
sure.
Yeah, so he literally writes him a letter and says, hey, can you send me the lyrics for the couple songs that we were covering? And he, instead of sending them back, I think it was Erie Vaughn, I think, sent him something back. And along with it, they had something like Danzig had just started, the band Danzig had just started. And apparently they were just picking anyone who they said it was random, a random person, whoever writes to us will become the Danzig fan club, leader or ambassador for that area. But I think it was basically anyone who wrote to them. So we got this huge stack of Danzig flyers, 300, just black and white photocopies of Danzig. The drummer's like, man, what about? I don't want this. I don't want to be the leader of this. So just coincidentally, he came at the time I was living outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he came to play the rave. And it was Danzig, it was their first tour, and it was Soundgarden opening up for them with Corrosion of Conformity opening up for them. And then there's this weird rap metal band called the Hardcore that was the opener. But anyway, because my friend was the automatic Danzig fan club leader, we all got to go and meet him before the show. And there's a record shop called Earwaves in Milwaukee that we would go to all the time. It was this great like local record shop. And anytime we would go, we were from the suburbs, so anytime we would drive into the city, we would go there because you could get just about anything. And we went there. It's this tiny little hole-in-the-wall shop. And we're just, kids. We're 15, 14 years old, and we're looking through the records. And Danzig and his crew comes in, and they just start like going up. The guy that owned it, his name was Dave. He had all these bootlegs on the wall, and Danzig and his crew started taking all these Misfits and Samhain bootlegs off the wall and just snapping them in half, and just like yelling at this fat like record store owner guy and like this old guy. We're like, "What the fuck? You got our records? Like what you selling our bootlegs for?" And they're just breaking shit, and we're freaked out. We're like 14 and like weigh like 110 pounds. We're like, "Oh shit, this is not gonna be good." So we're just kind of hiding in the back of this, but there's nowhere to hide. And we're just watching this whole thing, and they literally took all these records and just smashed them outside and basically dared this guy to do anything about it. And then, like, literally 10 minutes later, we were supposed to meet them, like, for real, like, on the tour. So we went out, we were like, holy shit, what the fuck, should we still do this? And we're like, yeah, I guess. We didn't know any better. So we went to the rave, and we got on the tour bus, and they were playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on Nintendo, and they weren't very good at it. And like it was just this awkward situation and conversation, because we were, I don't know, I guess cynical little kids, and we're like, we didn't really want to be here, but okay, it was free, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very strange experience.
Amazing. So I'm going to guess based on the details of that story, which include a rap metal band and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, that you guys are around my age. I'm about to turn 41. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
We're
all.
Yeah. I'm 43.
I'm 39.
So let's talk about the history of the band a little bit. You guys mentioned that you're based in Durham, but you formed in Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is Justin. I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas, and that's kind of where the first iteration started there. It started off kind of like a solo, just kind of more blues-based, and then it kind of turned into a three-piece where it had more of like a, I don't know what to compare it to, like Portishead meets Roy Orbison sound. I know that sounds weird, but we had like slide guitar, acoustic, and just real subdued drums. And then it moved to Baltimore when I went to grad school. But I feel like for the most part it was solo from 2006 to 2010 basically. I went from Texas to Baltimore to Berlin, Zurich, played in Europe a little bit, but it was just solo stuff. Came to New York, and that's where I feel like the band started to really record records in proper studios and stuff. Before that, I'd record in my bathroom or bedroom, whatever had good reverb. And the band kind of started to record some records in New York. The first one was with my buddy Dave. It was kind of a two-piece at the time, and then it turned into a three-piece where we recorded Shiver in New York as well. And then my partner at the time and we moved down to Durham, North Carolina, and that's the Craigslist ad that Steve alluded to earlier. And that's kind of where things started for us, is I think in 2013, maybe 2014.
I think it was 2014, I think.
2014? Yeah. So that's kind of, we like hit the ground running, kind of connected on Craigslist, and started practicing and got down that record One Foot in the Flesh Grave, and we recorded that here, and that kind of started the whole thing. Yeah.
The weird thing out of that is like I'm the only one that wasn't connected via Craigslist.
How did it happen, Mark? I can't remember. Like, did I reach out, or did Todd reach out?
I think you had reached out to me,
Okay.
like via like Messenger, like through Facebook, and I think how that happened was, I don't know if you like, Todd and I were in a band for a few years together, and that kind of had fizzled out, and I think Todd may have hit you up, and then
yes, he definitely did.
After
on Craigslist,
that,
Yeah, I saw his Craigslist ad. I was like, oh shit, this guy's into all the same shit I'm into.
Minus Sam Hain.
Yeah, but then it was really funny too because Todd and I's bass player in the band that we had before, the Mercators, the bass player in that band sent me a message, and he's like, and it was a Facebook or I'm sorry, a Craigslist ad, and he's like, "Do you know this guy?" And it was Steve's Craigslist posting, and it had like
shit.
all the bands that I'm totally into, like the Young Widows, Shipping News, and a whole there was like a list of them. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, like I feel like I should know this guy, but I don't. And come to find out, it's like we ended up being in the same band together.
That's weird. Yeah, and Todd originally wanted to be the bass player. He was like, "Hey, I want to play bass," and I was like, "Shit, Steve's already claimed that."
That probably
Already
worked out.
connected over Danzig.
Titles would have gone to waste.
Yeah. But thank God, because Todd rips. He's a badass. So, and Steve's a badass, and everybody's a badass. So it just worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So, Justin, you mentioned this Roy Orbison-meets-Portishead sound that you started off with. How long did it take to develop the current dark punk, kind of post-punk sound that you guys are playing?
I feel like in New York, it started to get heavier. It started to get a little bit more aggressive. It with Bone Color Moon, which was our early EP, and when we recorded that in New York, it was a 2-piece. So I felt like it was a more kind of soul R&B, old soul music kind of feel, and more croony. Like I felt like, I don't know, vocal melody was really important, and not that it's not now, but I felt like that took center stage because, I mean, as a 2-piece, there's only so many things you can do. But then as a 3-piece, I felt like it started to get heavier and heavier, so Shiver, we recorded Shiver, and that, I feel like that intensified. People that were in the band at that time, they were kind of similar to what Steve mentioned, like, you know, Misfit Sam Hain heads, but also what Mark referenced, like big Young Widows fans. And so I felt like that started to seep in. I don't know if it was the environments I was around or just getting more and more frustrated and cynical, living in New York and getting pissed off and hating people. I'm not sure. But when I got to Durham, I was really fucking angry. Not at first, but then my partner at the time left, and it was just a big dramatic mess. And the record that came out of it was amazing, but it was definitely a lot angrier, a lot more depressed or depressing. But that's just personally, like, you guys also contributed in your own ways, and like I felt like the music just transformed because of like who was in the band, and you know, we just kind of meshed magically and somehow pulled it off and was able to record it. Yeah, I felt like we captured lightning somehow. It was a good energy with one foot in the flesh grave.
So cold when you
So tell me about your songwriting process. How do you guys actually compose and write your material?
I tend to do the really emo bedroom like lyric writing. Sometimes it comes out in like a minute and it's very automatic writing, almost like some Dada poem. But sometimes we labor over things together and like we'll write a song together and then I'll come up with the lyrics later. So we got a good riff, Mark has a good beat, or Todd comes up with a killer riff, or Steve comes up with a bass line. But for the most part, I try to construct the songs beforehand so we're not just, wasting time. I try to like at least have a skeleton, and then everybody kind of puts their like flesh and sinews in there, kind of builds the body of the song that way. Wouldn't you agree, guys? I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds accurate.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me because I'll record a lot of our practices, and every once in a while, like one will somehow add be on my iTunes, and it'll like just pop up randomly, and it's so bad. Like the first like recording for just supposedly like I have something of waiting, like, and every time I was
gonna say waiting.
Yeah,
it's so slow.
Oh my god, it's so slow.
But it is interesting to kind of look back and see what we started with, and even though it's cringy, especially where we ended up, you can still hear like the dynamics and the interesting parts that give you goosebumps. You're like, okay, this is going to be a good song, kind of thing. Yeah,
for sure. And sometimes, man, we just stumble upon some random, like some bridge. It's like, oh shit, this bridge is magical, and we wouldn't have came up with it unless we were all together and fucking around. So it's kind of spontaneous sometimes how songs come together,
What song would you say changed the most from conception to the final recorded version?
Oh, man.
If you're going by a band, it's probably the same thing Steve was just talking about with the song Waiting. I think the beginning of it, like when we were first starting to write it, it was meant to be slow and kind of sludgy a little bit too, but the early inception of that, like the recordings of that, it was it was painfully slow.
Yeah,
and it dramatically changed, I think. But that's one I can think of.
That's the one you think. Yeah, and off this record, I feel like I don't know. I feel like we slowed one particular song down that was originally fast, and I was like, it was Hurricane Trash Wave. Do you remember? Like that one sounded like
on
a
Sick
lot more
City.
rocky. Yeah, like a lot more rock AC/DC rockin' sound. It was like it was basically like I feel like the drums, you were just following more of a straight drum beat, and so it had that like AC/DC Danzig 1 like stripped down sound, but then we went with more of a Sonic Youth beat, and I feel like that really changed the dynamic of the song and made it like kind of flourish in a nice way. That would be that for me. Hurricane Trash Wave would be one that started off one way and then kind of evolved as a unit, totally different than what I expected.
So since you guys mentioned the latest album, let's jump right into it. It's called Rattle, and it's set to be released on May 15th. Tell me a little bit about this album.
Steve, or should I say stuff?
Yeah, if I want to. You wrote the lyrics. You can say more, talk more to that than I could.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, each song, I feel like we went in more of like a cryptic. It still like has a lot of remnants of old records. I feel like it's kind of an amalgam of a lot of our records, the last 3 at least. I feel like there's some that are similar to Bone Colored Moon though. Like End is almost has this kind of woven kind of feel to it, where it sounds a lot more spaghetti western. Yeah, that's just something I feel like we haven't really done with the last 2. So that was interesting to kind of revisit that kind of I don't know how you describe it, just more of a stripped down rhythm based. I don't know. I don't want to say rhythm based song because a lot of our songs are rhythm based, so I don't know. But that one seemed particularly tribal. But as far as lyrical content, the themes are like typical themes of ours, which is like death, depression, love, suicide thoughts, suicide ideation, people who we lost to suicide recently, and then just songs that I don't know. They're based on dreams. So as far as like lyrical content, yeah, it's just all over the place. Yeah, like Rattle was based on a dream that I had where a snake was like biting me like inside of my stomach and biting me, and I drank gasoline and lit it on fire. It like came right out of my mouth and all this weird stuff. So I know that sounds strange, but there's a lot more details to it. But that's what Rattle the song is based off of, and then Rattle the title. I don't remember how we came across it, y'all. I just said like, how about Rattle?
I just thought we were trying. Oh, go ahead, Todd.
Go ahead, T.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, that's pretty much. I remember Justin just saying, "How about Rattle?" and I was like, "That's fine with me."
I'm always the one that's the skeptical one of the bunch. I'm always like, I don't know. Maybe we should think about it more.
Yeah.
But then...
What? You're not like that at all. What are you talking about?
I am. But all right, whatever.
What was it about Rattle that you were unsure about?
The title?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you said you're always the one in the band who's unsure. What was it about Rattle that you were unsure about?
It just felt too simple.
Yeah.
And and we had a song title already and I didn't really want to do the whole cliche thing where it's like you have a album title and that's one of the song titles. But then, after thinking about it and then the whole thing with like making every single song just one word and just making it like a concept and let you, like the listener, decide what it should be, kind of gives you like the kind of cryptic feel to it, and that kind of made sense then after that.
Totally, I agree. Yeah, that's the idea, is getting more cryptic, letting the viewer paint their own picture and all that good stuff. I think that's the beauty of art and music, right?
How quickly did this album come together for you guys?
2 years, I think, right? Took about 2 years.
Gene, I think that
Maybe a
sounds
year and a
about
half.
right.
Yeah, I would say a year and a half at the most, really. But
Yeah. We recorded it like in 2019 in April, so, and we finished it came out in 2018. So
Yeah, I guess I'm just like thinking. Yeah, you're right though. I mean, that's the timeline of it and how soon we had to record just to get it produced and mixed and mastered and all those other things that take months. Yeah, it'd be nice to throw out one every year, and be able to like do that. But like, we all have real jobs and have to like balance it around lives and rent and all that good stuff. So it'd be nice to be a lot more. What do you call that? What's the word? Van Gogh is that way. Shit, prolific. Yeah.
So the album was recorded by Jay Robbins at a studio, the Magpie Cage. Jay Robbins has been in a number of different bands. I think the band that I'm most familiar with is Jawbox. Why did you choose Jay Robbins?
Mark.
I mean, why not?
Mark and Steve, you should probably take this.
Well, was it his recording history? Was it his studio sound?
Well, like for me, it probably has to go with his recording history. Like he recorded probably my Desert album by the Dismemberment Plan, Emergency and I, and it's perfect. And he's done like all the bunch of the early Engine Down records, and he's also such a kick-ass musician. He's so good at like his job at what he does, and he helps you. Like, I was going into it like really scared, and he made it super easy to do or to like to work with, and for me that's huge because I've had some pretty shitty experiences with engineers. So.
Why were you scared? What were you scared about?
He's a hero of Mark's, right? I mean, he's one of your heroes.
Well, I mean, he's... Like,
so not specific to the album, but just working with him.
Well, just in general, it's just because had previous experiences with like more well-known producers, and it's just nerve-wracking, and knowing, you know, what Jay's done, I was kind of going into that the same aspect of like some of the other people I've recorded with, and he made it really easy for me to forget about that.
Yeah, he was super humble and super nice. Yeah. Todd, what did you think? I mean, like I feel like he was cool.
It was just an amazing experience all around, really. Very sweet guy, very new as shit, and yeah, super easy to work with. It was a great experience. I think we also wanted to maybe meet somewhere in the middle. As far as our first record was pretty clean and our second record was pretty blown out, and I think we kind of wanted to meet somewhere in the middle of those, the first two full-length records.
I agree. Yeah.
And it seemed like Jay would be able to. He would be the right guy for that.
Beyond his personality, what was it like working with Jay Robbins? What's his approach to recording?
He's a workhorse. He's funny, and he's like no nonsense at the same time. Like he can, you know, just. I feel like we were under like a bit of a time constraint as far as his preference, so he probably would have rather had us in there 2 more days. But we're just like. We try to knock it out within 4 days. That's just how we roll typically. So I think he felt probably a little overextended by like how quickly we wanted to like knock it out, and I think he wanted to live in it a little bit more and take time with it because that's just his inclination. I feel like, yeah. Wouldn't you guys think that, or didn't you get that feel?
Yeah, I mean,
I got that vibe.
I mean, I think what it is that we're. Like when we record, we're not trying to overproduce things. We want to hear like the little noises on your strings and like just the little nuances at the end where you can tell like it's not like, you know, it's not labored over or anything like that. That it still has that live sound. We invest so much time into our live performance. We wouldn't want to have a record that doesn't mimic that and does too many studio tricks. So. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, like, we are a very efficient band when we come in and record. You know, like, after I've been in bands most of my life, and Justin can knock out vocals as fast as anyone I've ever seen, so.
You guys too, man. Y'all fucking... Mark's the only person I'm worried about sometimes, because just like, man, I feel like that's demanding of Mark to have to record drums so quickly, and it's a pretty...
The physical part of it.
Yeah, it's intense, and it's physical, and he's kind of the root. Like, he's the foundation of the record, typically. Or, yeah, he is, straight up. That's the first thing that gets recorded, so it's like, it's a lot of weight on his shoulders, I feel like. That's the only thing that I'm always nervous about is, like, you know, fuck, I mean, I have off days, Steve has, we all have off days, you know, so hopefully he's not sick, right? Or hopefully he didn't hurt his hand. You know? 'Cause we'd be
or sprain my ankle.
Yeah.
He just sprung his ankle, and we're supposed to be on tour now, but luckily... Well, not luckily, but, you know, the plague has forced us to stay indoors, so...
So the album is going to be released by Gilead Media, I should say. How did they get involved with this release? How did you guys end up signing with them?
Oh, I reached out to them like on the last record. I won't go into the details, but basically our record label had dropped us because they didn't like the production of Six City. They thought it was too blown out, and yeah.
It's rock and roll, man.
I know, right? And he had a bunch of heavy bands on his label, so, that's just how it goes. He wanted to make some changes and switch labels and do sort of go a different direction and not... We were a smaller band, so I get it. It was financially wise of him probably to do that. But we had talked to Gilead in the past, and he just, things didn't line up. He was like booked for the next year or something like that. But Mark, I think you reached out to him this time and kind of gave him some rough drafts that Jay Robbins had done. Is that right?
Well, it actually went back, I think, a little bit before that too, because when it had come out, he had posted that as like one of his top 10 favorite records of the year.
You're right.
So he had already heard that album. And I think he kind of maybe have heard it because he knew Eric with Antenna Krushku, who's our Polish label. So because they've worked together with previous releases with Buildings. So,
sure.
And I imagine maybe that might have been how he heard us. And then once we were having our label problems before, that's when I had kind of reached out to him and just kind of like, hey, just want to, I work for a company called Red Eye Worldwide Distribution, which we distribute some of their records, and he had a contract with Thrill Jockey as well. So, I kind of reached out to him and asked him if he'd be interested, and sure enough, he came back. He was like, absolutely. He's like, let's talk a little bit down the line, like when are you looking to release this? And, kind of gave him a timeline, and he's like, I think that's doable. And I sent him some rough drafts, and he was blown away by the 2 tracks we sent him, which was Grass and Rattle, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating label because it doesn't cater to one kind of music or another. They've got these very raw black metal bands on the label.
Yeah, like False.
Yeah. And I think there's a band called Hell as well, like a one-man project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they've also got these kind of arty, that I don't want to say like progressive or sophisticated or anything like that, but that tends to draw a different kind of audience, maybe more an audience with like more of a history of music and where a lot of punk and metal stuff comes from. So it sounds like he was a fan of the band first, and you guys got involved that way. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that's the vibe that I got.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he. I was just gonna say, I think when he heard Six City, he was pretty stoked on that, and it just kind of made sense to reach out to him.
And as far as being on this roster with all these varied acts, sitting alongside like these sludge bands and these black metal bands, how do you guys feel about that?
Oh man, somebody else.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, for me, it's like I was a fan of some of these metal bands before him, like Yellow Eyes and False and Vow, and when I found out Buildings was on there, they're like buds of ours, and they put out their last 2 records with them, which are great records too. It felt like a good place to go.
And we've heard so many good things about Adam too. Like you kind of check references on this. We did the same thing when we were, inquiring about Jay Robbins. Asking friends, how he is to work with. There's just this network that we're able to rely on to like get that insider information, and everyone had just really great things to say about Gilead and Adam and what he does. So I think that goes beyond whatever kind of music he's on. Just like knowing he's a stand-up guy goes a long way.
Yeah, punk rock ethos all the way. Gives a fuck. He doesn't. It's not some huckster record label. Not that there are, in our circle, there aren't a bunch of huckster record labels, but you hear horror stories. I'm not going to name any names, but just recently, what was that band from Britain that called out that one label? Do you guys know? Do you remember that?
I thought you weren't going to name any names.
No, the band. What was the band name? Not the label. Do you guys remember?
I
It was
can't
like
remember.
a duo black like atmospheric.
I don't know.
Shoot. Fuck. It escapes me. Sorry, should I not cuss?
No. That's fine.
I assume it's okay. Okay.
I mean, unless your parents are going to listen to this, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
My parents don't like me cussing, but it's fine.
In addition, there's also a video for Rattle that was shot and directed and cut together by Dal Murpah. Tell me who Daryl is, and tell me how this video came together.
Well, our buddy Richard had worked on a bunch of other videos for us, and Richard Lucas, and he had worked on Hurricane Trashwave video in conjunction with our friend Thomas Hudd. Yep, Ribcage Fireplace. He did kind of the trailer, but Richard usually is our go-to guy for videos, and he's awesome. But this particular moment in time, he was just really swamped with work, which is awesome. It was previous to the plague happening, and he recommended his buddy that he worked with closely on films and projects. Yeah, Daryl was stoked to do it, and we were stoked to work with him. He just kind of was easy to work with and asked us, like, how do you envision this video being? Like, what's the concept and all that good stuff? And I kind of went into this whole. At first, it started off kind of a little bit more brutal, and then we kind of toned it down and kind of went more like love spell route. An ex-girlfriend of mine, when I was younger, cast a love spell and did all these crazy rituals, and that's kind of what the video is based on.
Yeah, I mean, I think his cinematography too is just like that's probably the biggest difference between the previous videos. Is like, man, some of those forest shots that he did are just so crystal clear and just lush, and it's just a pretty video to look at too. And
yeah,
composition.
For sure. Yeah, it was stunning. He has an eye. I mean, just visually, it was beautiful. Couldn't have been happier. So
was that the concept behind the video? Somebody casting a love spell?
Yeah, it started off with a lot more, like, basically he was going to do a video for Grass, and so there was a lot of imagery that I tossed his way that I think he started to work on for a different song. And then Richard was like, hey, I can do a teaser, and we needed a teaser for Grass because that was like our first single, so we kind of switched gears, and he had already kind of like recorded some imagery for Grass, so there was a lot of like nature shots, I guess the love interest shots, and it was, we tried to like make it as Lynchian as possible, David Lynch, and a couple other folks. I'm trying to think of the other like more art house filmmakers that it escapes me now, but so yeah, he was totally all for, I guess Kenneth Anger was another one. Can't think of the other guys, but it kind of evolved into this like story of a love spell, where this girl takes a lock of the hair of the lover and then she burns it, puts the ash on her head and puts it in a box under her bed, and then when she wants the love spell to cease, she buries that box with the hair in the backyard, or I guess in this case, like the middle of nowhere. And that's the end of the love spell. It's a little bit more involved, but that's kind of an overview.
touched on the virus briefly. Usually I'll ask a band what they have planned for the future, and right now there aren't a lot of plans. Let's put it that way. But do you guys? I mean, beyond the release of the album, do you guys have anything planned, or is there anything like videos or anything like that you guys have coming out?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think the first thing we want to do is have a proper album release show. That's been canceled with Boot now, I think, like 3 times. We're really stoked to do it. But, we, as soon as we can, as soon as it's safe, we definitely want to get back out on the road and tour to support the album. We hope that we had an opportunity to go to Europe, but that got canceled because of the virus. So we're hoping that can get rescheduled to next year, hopefully in the spring. So it's just like, just getting out and playing shows. I mean, that's why we want to do this, is to play out. So, doing that would be obviously a priority as soon as we can. But it's just, you just can't. It's so hard because you have to book so many months in advance, and we just don't know what's going to happen right now. So it's like everything feels like it's on hold, at least from a live performance standpoint.
But that said, we're going to play Fest in Florida, and we have a week in October. Basically like a tour booked around that, assuming that things are going to be functional then, but maybe not. And then, maybe Europe at some point. We've been asked to tour Europe, and so that's something that we hope to do by spring, if everything's somewhat normal by then.
Yeah.
Maybe it will never be normal again, I don't know.
Now, you guys were playing shows fairly recently, right? Didn't you guys play some shows in March?
Yeah.
Did you notice a big change? Were people... I mean, I don't know how you social distance at a show, but did people seem worried? Were the crowds sparse?
Not at all.
No, the last tour we did was right before this, but it was before people started getting scared and like it really was hitting us. But it was like the weekend before, I think, right?
Yes.
Like when we came back from festival. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was normal. Like people were, no one was worried about it. No one was wearing masks at the time. Nothing was shut down. I'm sure there were cases now that we know, like, people died in California in January because of this, right? I think there was some story about that. I think it was California. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I mean, there was. I mean, that's a whole different subject, but there's definitely cases in the United States before, the middle of March.
But we lucked out. We got to play a couple more times. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got to play the same city in a block down from the sexy Sax Man.
From Lost Boys.
Yeah, so I don't know what the average age of my audience is, but you might have to explain that reference. I don't know how many people actually have seen or remember Lost Boys.
Well, they know the Sergio Flores, right? The YouTube guy that plays Careless Whisper over and over again, which is hilarious. That video never gets old. But like his character is based off of this greased up muscle guy from the movie The Lost Boys that just plays saxophone, like very sexy, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of thrusting, pelvic thrusting.
Yeah, there's a lot of thrusting.
But what people don't know is that he is, like, for years was Tina Turner's saxophone player.
Yeah. He's
for years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was crazy. He played two doors down from where we played in Johnson City, Tennessee, and he kind of stole our thunder.
Yeah.
How do you not?
Him and Mark actually totally hit it off and traded phone numbers and were texting. Mark was texting with him in the van the next day when we were on the
because he owed Mark $5,000, right? I'm not gonna say why.
Yeah. I'll say. I gotta clear the air on this one. So, yeah, basically, as soon as we got done playing, I bolted out of the venue and went down to go see him. And I caught the last song, and he was phenomenal. He was awesome. And so I kind of made my way back to the merch booth, and I'm waiting there. I was like, you know what? I know my fiance would love to get a T-shirt, and I was like, what the hell? I'll get one too. And so get the T-shirts, and he's already explained that he was not very familiar with like Square and doing a card reader. And I had a tab open with my debit card at the bar, so I used my credit card. He's like, yeah, it'd be $50. You got two shirts. It's like, all right, cool. He typed it in and took my card and swiped it, and I went to sign it, and it said $5,000.99. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is... And I get an alert on my phone that tells me I've just made a purchase for $5,000.99. And I'm like, no, I've got to decline this somehow. And then he was freaking out. Like, he had no idea. Luckily, some kid next to me was like, here, let me take a look too. And the whole line, by the time of this whole thing, the whole line was talking about this. And I mean, there was a line going almost to like the end of to the front door of like people waiting to meet him and everything. And he basically helped me out and got it refunded. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I cannot believe that this happened. Is like, here, let me give you my telephone number, and you text me tomorrow to make sure that it got reversed and everything. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, holy shit, I'm gonna have the Sax Man's phone number. Not thinking about like the $5,000, but
It was worth
but then and all of a sudden at the end of this, like it gets reversed. It like looks like everything was, gone back to my card. And he's like, looks at me, he's like, do you still want to get a picture? And I was like, hell yeah, I do. So I got a picture with him as well. and he's like, you know what? Just take the shirts. I'm not even going to charge you for them. And so I was like, all right. So I walked out a winner.
Pretty risque stuff.
So, Rattle is the new album by Wailin Storms, and it's set to be released May 15th by Gilead Media. Tell people how they can order this album.
Yeah, so they can off of Gilead Media's either Bandcamp or from their website if they're in the United States. And if they're in Europe, we have our Europe label, which is Antena Criscu, which I'm not even going to try to spell. But if you look it up, you can find us there too, and then you can order it online. And there's actually different vinyl types depending on who you order it from too. So quite a bit of variety there.
Yeah. What colors do we have, Mark? It's like red and like...
Like a
So
red
there's
swirl.
there's a red and white swirl,
For
a
the
black
US
and
one.
white swirl. Yeah, those are the two US. And then you've also got black, and that's in US. And then for the European market, it's a red and black kind of blobby kind of looking. Like it's not a swirl or a splatter or anything like that. And then solid red.
Yeah, for Antenna
Yeah.
in Poland. Cool. And they already came out with the European release has already been kind of dropped, right? I think it was like
Yeah, you can order that
May,
now.
May 1 or late April. Yeah.
And if people want to follow Wailin Storms online, how can they do that?
Oh, we're everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just Wailin Storms, on Instagram, Wailin Storms on Facebook, Wailin Storms on Twitter. And we have a website as well. Feel free to order stuff that way, because then it goes, to the band. And we have old shirts and old records on there, and,
And new shirts.
And we'll have new shirts as well. Yeah, you're right. So,
Is there anything else you guys want to say?
thank you for doing this and
Yeah.
caring. Seriously, taking the time.